Welcome once again to Meshiv, Yad Torah, our series, our ongoing series with our Rabbi Leib Tropper Shvita. Today, Rabbi Leib, we're going to be talking about the truth about plenty, perpetuating Torah in the future generations. There seems to be such a great concern today about the lack of many people's ability to just keep the tradition of authentic Judaism, Torah true Judaism, going, and a weakening of the generations, and many parents and families feel frustrated by it. How do we understand what's going on? What do we need to do about it?
That was quite a question, parents, and I just want to make it clear, first of all, that besides welcoming you and welcoming myself to this big gap in our since the last YouTube, I'm happy to see you again, talk with you again, discuss with you again. I feel like it's such a question that's so overwhelming and so scary to get involved with.
That's just the question, let alone the situation.
Right. So, the Patihya Emes Nederis, the truth will become absent from our lives, is one of the klolos, or the pre-messianic klolos that we are facing, I am facing, we all are facing that. Patihya Emes Nederis, the truth has just disappeared. We can't find it even in places that we normally would find it. We usually, years, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, we find it. There's a few areas where I just want to discuss regarding that emes, that I think, it doesn't mean that we have the emes, it means we try to pursue that emes and try to find it and hold on to it. We have a long way to go to get that emes, all of us. There is one problem in the area of chinuch. There are people who complain, chashuva families, that if they Hashem, they go to learn 3-4 hours a day in the Balabat, and they make money, and they're Elach, and their wives are Elach, and everything is Elach about their lives. But yet, after 15, 20 years, when they have a family, the children are not so into the Yiddishkeit. They're not into it, they're not really. So I just want to share what Gedol Yisrael had told me. Rabbi Kowalski, I spoke to other Rabbi Blitzky, others people, Gedol Yisrael in Chinuch as well, shared with me some of these things. We have a situation that Baruch Hashem, the generation is becoming holy and pure, and they want to do so many good things. We want to help so many people. So many people need help. So the husband or the wife pick up and they look down the calendar. They have to go to visit this one, that one, this one, to help this one, help that one. They raise money for him, I raise money for that, and visit this one, and visit that one, and help this one. And they're running around doing so much chesed. They're called. They get the Chesed of the Year award, the Chesed of the Century award, the Chesed of the Universe award, the Chesed of any kind of award they get. They deserve for so much Chesed that they do.
Sounds like a good thing.
A great thing, right? But when it's on the expense of the family's chinuch, and the family's seeing, being part of that chesed, whatever it may be, usually they lag behind. And they lag behind, they meet up with other friends that are not necessarily an inspiration for them to continue the Yiddishkeit that they learned in yeshiva from their parents. It just somehow feels unhealthy to me, that approach. Not to me, for these Gedol Yisrael who shared with me. It's unhealthy. It's not a healthy Yiddishkeit. It's some kind of escape, almost to say it, from the real obligations of the chinuch habonim, which is an obligation. Chinuch habonim not only in halacha, but in hashkafa, in midas toivos, is also a chinuch in that as well. And parents who get involved with other things, it's a kind of a mantra that they feel proud of. Some of them. I'm a very busy person. I'm very, very busy. I'm busy. People need me here. People need me there. All over. It makes you feel good that you're needed all over the place. Everybody needs you.
But when a person asks somebody, what do you do? He says, well, I'm an askin.
You're a big askin. I'm somebody. I'm a balitza. I'm an askin. I'm giving advice. I have this whole bias problems come to me, and this one comes to me. I'm very, very busy. But you forgot that there's somebody who's a nitzrach, who's a needy person in your home on 22 Delancey Street, wherever that may be, or on Flatbush. Somebody's a big nitzrach. There's a kid that's a nitzrach that needs his father's hand. I must say that, despite the fact that he's not an Orthodox Jew with the big O, as he says it himself to me. I think I told you that when the radio show host in California. His name. He wrote the book.
Dennis Prager.
Dennis Prager, right?
Mr. Dennis Prager.
Mr. Dennis Prager, right? So I once spoke to him, and he told me that he's Orthodox with a small O, and not with a big O. But anyway, the point he writes, he's a political writer, and he wrote his book, and he has a tape, a CD, where he talks about something which I think is a profundity, and it's true. He says, parents ruin their children when they substitute time with their children with contracting the time into minimum quality time. They found a word that's a muktzah masmius, that's a disgusting word, that quality time. Well, let me break the news to us all parents. We should wake up and smell the coffee. Children need a lot of non-quality time. They need to be able to bother daddy on his feet when he's on a phone on the desk and writing something, a note to somebody, and say, stop it, Moshe, stop it. They need to get away from here now. Bring me coffee, and I'm thirsty. They need to have the non-quality time, not just quality where you go and you're exploring Central Park, the zoo with all the animals and defining them and going to different places and going to museums. And they need a lot of non-quality time also. With children of all ages. And when's the last time somebody could say, we just had a plain schmooze with my children, with my son, with my spouse, with my friend, with my daughter? I mean, it's a plain schmooze, a barbecue, and they have a plain schmooze with their father over a barbecue. I know barbecue doesn't sound like it came from, most, Haliga catering store but it's a barbecue is American. People do that, right, in America. Barbecues. When's the last time that you had a regular barbecue with your children, with your family, and you spoke to them and you talked to them? Dvarim b'telem almost. Not dvarim b'telem like mamish that's prohibited, but dvarim b'telem, not lashon hara. I don't mean that's what I mean. I don't mean lashon hara or chashom, things that you're not allowed to speak. But you spoke about, how's your job? How's your thing? How's it going with the children? How's it going with your, just talking about stam life.
There's actually a concept in the Torah that somehow promotes this idea?
Well, in Chinuch, there's Gedolei Yisrael will tell you that that's a very important thing. Just as say, I mean, I don't think the disciple did it with Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky, but Bnei Brak was different than New York. I think, no, not just 7,000 miles, but even different by its environment and its role models that the Bnei Brak had. The founders of Bnei Brak, the Chazon Ish. They were role models of the people who founded the Lower East Side, you know what I mean? Or Brooklyn, or Flatbush. I mean, different people.
Remember Rabbi Feinstein or Ruben discussing how Rav Moshe Zatzal would get down on the floor with him and show him what was going on under the refrigerator when they were lit by gas, and engage him and involve him.
Correct. And my father, Olav Shalom, who was not like Rav Moshe, but my father, Olav Shalom, would. I remember there was one point in time I was promised a television if I would get a certain mark on my report card. I'm in third grade, and my uncle was giving away a television, and I got the mark. My father didn't want. You see, he really. I never saw my father my whole life. In his 94 years, I saw him. I saw him since he was 30s and 30s. Him ever like his ears, the eyes soaked with water. Other than the time he begged me that he actually mechel him on his promise. He'll buy me any toy that I want. And he had a store, he named it.
Instead of the television.
The television, yeah. But he didn't just buy me a toy. He bought me like this Lincoln Logs, a box of Lincoln Logs. You remember those parents? He put them together. It looks like a Lincoln Log house, but the house of the old days, in the cowboy time, whatever it would look like. And other kind of toys like that, And he took off a half a day work of teaching his Talmud Torah to play with me. I got on the floor, and he helped me build Lincoln Logs. Because how much it meant. So he taught me how much it meant to him not to have that television. Just building Lincoln Logs. He taught me things because the circumstances in which he took that day off to play with me in Lincoln Logs was fascinating. It was fascinating and meaningful. But that same father, Olav Shalom, would take me on Friday night, hold my hand, take me to learn a cold winter night. He would take me to Yeshiva Yaakov Yosef, which is a mile away from my home, hold my hand and my brother take us, my younger brother, and take us all to learn for an hour and a half altogether, a half hour each one, we learn with each one. And we will learn, and we're not learning in the house. He wanted us to walk to the yeshiva because it's an environment to learn. And we did that. And so that same person on the floor with the Lincoln Logs was the same person who learned with me. Every Lil Shabbos took us for a walk to the yeshiva to learn. And that same person who played with Lincoln Logs was the same person who, when Friday night was snowing and we couldn't go there, he would put us all, at least me and my brother, put us on the table in the kitchen, and he would open up all three of us. My father would sit in the head of the table, and he would start reading the Parsha, and then we all start reading the Parsha, Ma'av Zedra. That was the same father, so there was no, we all felt comfortable. We know that Ramosha writes that the worst thing about, the major component in turning children away from Yiddishkeit is robbing the excitement of Yiddishkeit. When a father comes home from shul and walks a mile and he says, "Hi, it's Shveit Zayin Yid," but it's good, it's okay. Then the child is like, "What do I need to be Shveit Zayin Yid? I don't want to have Shveit. I don't want to live a difficult life and agonizing life to walk to shul." That's, the father comes home with simcha, gavaldik. I walked 2 miles to buy kosher meat. I did this. It was terrific. It was refreshed. I got exercise. That's a whole different story. Ramosha writes this in a tshuva of his. That's a crematorium of religion in America, is a Shveit Zayin Yid, that kind of thing. I remember Moshe was saying this also at a bar mitzvah, when one of the grandfathers of mitzvah who was a Gadol B'Yisrael. Today, he passed away, but he was a big Gadol B'Yisrael. He said that a person has to be muchen mezumen at once he goes to bar mitzvah, the age of responsibility, to be Moshe Nefesh v'Torah. And Moshe happened to walk in. And Moshe walked in, they put him in the front to speak, asked him to say a few words, and he said, he got very upset with the previous speaker. He said, "What are they talking to 13-year-old boy Moshe Nefesh? He's talking about like excitement, enthusiasm, what do you mean, joy. What kind of Moshe Nefesh?" Ramosha was Lashitasa in that. Ramosha, I heard in the name of Ramosha from one of his children. Ramosha touched the Gemara Kedushin, the Gemara says, "Avedas Rabbi, Avedas Aviv." If a father loses an article, and a Rabbi loses an article, Avedas Rabbi Kademas. You return, your Rabbi lost the article first. Why? Because Rabbi Meviyeh l'chayel mabo, v'Av Meviyeh l'chayel mazeh. The father brings you to this world, but the Rebbe brings you to Olam Haba. So Moshe was medayik. It doesn't say Rabbi Lamdei Torah and Aviv Machilo Yamashkeyu. The father just feeds him and gives him to drink. The parents, the mother and father. It doesn't say that. Moshe said the Gemara means is Rabbi Meviyeh l'chayel mabo. It doesn't say Lamdei Torah. Because he has to bring him, teach him his midas, teach him to be Yerushalayim, his Ashkafis, and Torah, of course, he has to teach him also. That's what a Rebbe is. Rabbi Meviyeh l'chayel mabo means he makes him the complete person, muchar mezumah, to adopt Olam Haba. To go travel towards Olam Haba. That's what it means. Rabbi Meviyeh l'chayel mabo, not Lamdei Torah alone. And Oviv Meviyeh l'chayel mazeh means, it doesn't mean give him a nice tuna fish sandwich and a pickle. It means to have a good time with him, make him enjoy himself, make him have hana when he's small, and then he'll have enough time to make a nefesh later on in his life. But he has a good time with him. He makes everything exciting for him. So I heard one of the sons of Ramosha, Talmid Chacham, the name of Ramosha. So we should take that to heart in terms of the chinuch habana. Two things. We said, not to get involved with all the other things, like chesed and this and that and boom and bang. And meanwhile, you're so involved in all those kinds of things that they have no time. Not for their husbands, not for their children, not to do what they have obligated, mechuyev to do, and it doesn't make the Eibishter happy, no question. And the other thing is that to make Yiddishkeit happy, Rabbeim should be people who are examples for the children, as the Chazon Ish writes. We saw about the Talmid Mechakes Rabbi. The student always imitates the Rebbe, and the Rebbe talks like he screams and yells and kind of like that. So the student doesn't get what he should get in terms of education. The other thing is that there is another thing that you brought up, right? You wanted to talk
in terms of truthfulness. Yeah. Does any of this has to do with our own self-scrutiny and our honesty with ourselves in terms of How would we rate ourselves in terms of our practice as Jews today?
Right. That's right. There are obviously other causes outside motivations for a person to go and get involved in Klal Yisrael, not in Rebbe Yisrael.
We're not saying that. Chesed is something that role model.
I know. I'm just saying. But I'm getting to the point. I'm saying that there's a concept of a person. I think the Chassidish Rebbe used to say this pasuk in Shemot. You remember the phrase in Matan Torah? There was a phrase. It says, "Vayara Om," and they saw the fire of the Matan Torah. Vayara Om, Vayanu, and they started trembling. Vayamdu Merachak, and they stood from a distance. So the Chassidish Gedolim say this. It's a very strong message to us, all of us, listening and participating in this lesson that I'm trying to share for myself and for you. Sometimes you see a person, the mamash in the mood with that mincha, a packet of mincha. They're going to shuckle. But Rabbi say, they're so far from the Eibush, the mamash. They're still so distant. They're so far. They want to daven, and they have the external, things. They all get very rested. They gargle on the hat, and they kavanas with this and this and that, and this, and the faces are twisting, and like some kind of, some kind of institutionalized person, and they shake very intensely. But the bottom line is that within the Shama is Vayamdu Merachak, very distant. But somewhere it's not where that all those motions are. It's not where all those tenuas are. Those motions are in a different place than the heart. It's not there in that place.
How do we bridge the gap in terms of being honest with ourselves about that?
Well, it has to be first a commitment to that. Honesty is like that. Without honesty, it's not Avodas Hashem. Dishonest Avodas Hashem is not Avodas Hashem. It's just not. It's maybe something else. It's Avodas Atzmai, not Avodas Hashem. And once you're able to convince yourself by learning Musar over and over again, that and ultimately it invisibly rewires your whole system to understand that and you makabel it. When you get to understand that, then you're able to go, and not by Yara Om Vayanu Vayamnu Merachak. It'll be Vayara Om Vayanu Vayamnu Mikarev. They'll be standing very close to the Eibush, not distant, far distant. There won't be this big distance between the Ruchnius and the place where you really are. There won't be this disparity between the makom that you want to be and where you are. But it takes a cognizance of that, and it takes a commitment to do that.
Well, speaking of commitment, Rabbi Tropper, we talked also along these lines of being close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu by emulating His ways. Are there specific things that we could talk about now, perhaps take one of them, to latch onto that? What are some of the ways that we can really initiate to emulate HaKadosh Baruch Hu?
It's a very interesting thought, because somebody recently asked me a similar question, and Gemara says that what's the best way to glorify Hashem? Is by flattering Him, and adulation is the greatest adulation is by mimicking Him. Mahu rachum afa tarachum. From God's compassionate, you should be compassionate. So what does that mean? Lamaisa, compassionate. What does that mean? What is the lamaisa of compassionate? So there's a Gemara in Baba Kama. I'm not going to go into the whole Gemara, but the Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Abua, ha'olam yehi adam min hanirdafim. It should be for the one who's being pursued, not for the one who's pursuing. They bring a raya that the only carbon, the only bird that is muchan umzumin for carbon is the one that was being pursued, not the one that's pursuing. Wow. What an unbelievable statement the Baba Kama says, right? About the level of a bird that's being pursued becomes the bird that ultimately has. So what does that mean? How does that translate into ourselves? A nirdaf is someone who's people are after him, humiliate him, disregard him, ignore him, not machabed the person, don't treat him properly. Everything that's denigrating in the world, it's on his shoulder, it's on his face, it's on his pants, it's on every part of his Ramach Varim. To help that person, they say that the Goyin Morana Grach Kreisvert in the new Sefer that came out about Kreisvert, they just say, I just saw it just recently, he was Isaac, and he had a thing called Kiruv Nirdafim. He would try to be makar people who are being pursued, even with some just cause, being pursued, being run after, being chased after, and being denigrated for some, in that vein, and being denigrated, he would try to help them. He'd feel close to them. He'd feel very close to them. I want to read you about being close to sometimes things you don't even know you're close to. There's an Orach Chaim HaKadosh in Parshas Kisisa in the story of the Egel. He says as follows. He says, Orach Chaim writes, it says in the Pasuk, after Klal Yisrael committed this idolatry with the golden calf or whatever calf it was, it says, Kadosh Baruch Hu told them, go out, Koyam Hashem Elokei Yisrael. This is what God said. Each put their sword in their holster and go from gate to gate and kill a man his brother, a man his friend, and a man his relative. So the Orach Chaim HaKadosh asks the question. I'm going to read it to you almost. It's very small. We have to go and analyze it. Why should it add on? If he kills brother, that's his relative. Well, that's not his relative. That's his relative. She says, they're thinking processes. There's a disparity between the thinking process. V'manoshim acherim loy krovim hemulahem yehavu avos nefesh, and they'll not be so friendly with their own cousins, but they'll love the stranger. They'll love the guy in the street. I think I have some of that problem myself. Personally, I have relatives that I don't even know who they are, and I have strangers that I feel like they're like family to me, like children. And he says it's not just for Noah that happens. It doesn't happen just for Noah. It doesn't happen because it happened because it's a sign of bad midos. It doesn't necessarily say that. Chaim HaKadosh says, "V'zeh yimshach misheresh haneshamis." It comes from the source of souls. And then he says something scary. He says, because those neshamas that may be strange to you and not related to you are closer to you, come from a closer place next to you in the Olam HaNeshamas, from the world of souls. They come from a closer place to you in the Olam HaNeshamas than your own relatives. So it's not like you have zechasar in you. It's just that's where it comes from. So you have to mizgaber a little bit, overcome that, surmount that, and treat your relatives also with the same chamimus, with the gemutlichkeit, the patima, that kind of thing, with this, as you do your students, your talmidim, your children, your spiritual children. You need to do that. I think that in terms of that, I think we could leave it with that. We have enough work on those things alone, but I think I just want to discuss one more thing.
On this idea, continuing on this, Rabbi Tropper, this reconciliation of what seems to be a disparity between our heart and mind, don't we really strive to integrate what I guess we would call a symbiotic relationship between the intellect and the emotions? Are they so worlds apart, or don't we really need to integrate them so that we see that they're not totally separate, unintegrated entities in terms of our Yiddishkeit?
Absolutely, Pertz. The pasuk says, as I mentioned to you before, "Vayadata hayom v'hashivoyse el vavecha." You should know, and then you should internalize it into your heart. So there has to be some bridge from the intellect to the emotions, which is levavecha. So this definitive charge that the Eibishter gives us, "Vayadata hayom v'hashivoyse el vavecha," is not in sync with the secular world. The romantic theory of Rousseau and others who were in that actually said it's a choice, either reason or emotion, and Rousseau was for emotion, but they couldn't be merged at all.
That was according to him.
Well, Rousseau, not Taviyid. We're talking about somebody who was close to the Eibishter. Rousseau's argument that the reason leads a man out of his innocent state of nature. That's what the mind does. The mind takes a person out of the innocent state of nature. To us, it's a very vacuous argument, vacuous statement. It doesn't mean anything. It's like it's an empty bag, whatever. Claiming that man needs to return to listening, to feeling rather than consulting his mind, is a challenge to the truth of Torah. Complete challenge to the truth of Torah. We talk about someone like, I don't know, Adam Smith. We find a philosophy that maybe he even echoes the Torah truth when he writes that intelligent action results from a harmony of emotion and reason. Intelligent action, he means that, in other words, in order for something to be intelligent, it has to be totally informed with all the parts of your own body, all parts of your neshama. And parts of your neshama is hergish and seichel. You can't have an intelligent action if it's not completely intelligent. And since the emotions, the hergeshim, are part of human existence, so that, in harmony together with the seichel, is what knowledge means, intelligence means. So we need to merge those two things. And when you find yourself totally drifting off an emotion, just know that, at some point in your life you have to try to merge the two together. Merge the two and become closer. Nothing of these things changes overnight. People who are habituated in doing a certain thing are going to have to work on it. I mean, life is about working on something. The Rambam writes, Ashrei Mishin Nishlam Yamav B'Meheira. Lucky is the person whose work is over very early in his life. He finishes complete Avodah at the age of 35. He did everything he had to do, and now he can go into Elam and Shamas. It's wonderful, great for him. But that's not what we want. We want to live for 120 years working and working and working ourselves. And it could take that long, maybe not longer. In our door, it could take even longer to come to that matzah where we could make some harmony between the neshama and the seichel to adopt a Torah that the Eibishter wants us to.
In terms of that harmony, there was a statement by somebody that I'm very close to who once said, sometimes a Jew has to think with his heart and feel with his mind.
That's right. That's true. That's absolutely true, Parrot. It's a simple profundity, but it really profundity nonetheless. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you soon. Once again, thank you.